Now we can begin. Magnificent. Well, first of all, Camera Mandy is at Disney World. Yes?
She's at the airport right now.
Well, that's true. She's not quite there yet.
She's probably pulling her hair out right now, watching the stream.
Yeah, if she's watching the stream, she's like, ah!
Why is this camera tilted funny? Why is it the light correct?
Anyway, thank you for the subscriptions. I see those coming across. You are marvelous, and it's wonderful to have you here today. We have a wonderful stream planned for you. Excuse me. We've got a nice little slideshow. We're going to talk about the contributors. I don't know, Lawrence, were you able to grab a little social media so that we could show some of that?
I was not, but we could do it live.
Oh, we could do that. That'd be fun. Yeah, you'll have to bounce up and down, through the through the Facebook. But Harry painted his book Gollum. I saw that. There's been some wonderful posts from a number of different folks about interesting creativity things. Ben in Germany got his first box, but he's wondering where his second box is. Which I will tell you, the European shipments always scare us.
All international shipments have been very interesting, especially with the new system.
Yes. So, you went to Orlando. So everybody, while Lawrence is dealing with the social media stuff, I want to tell you a story. In fact, you could put up the one social media post that I put up of our little meeting that we had yesterday, Lawrence, if you wanted to just put that up, because that's pretty fun. We have been talking for quite a while, and some of you know this, that we've been talking for quite a while with Ed Greenwood, because in the area of Donvan in East Verdestia, long ago, we put a little place called the Greenwood, where a town was nearby there called Edminster. And we did this, obviously, to pay homage to Ed, who is one of my personal heroes. In fact, is probably my greatest hero in the TTRPG arena. Because of the magnificent things that, so you just cut it and pasted in there.
The primary reason is because I knew the moment that I went over and shared my live Facebook feed,
we'd blow it up.
At a minimum, James is going to go through and start just putting up ridiculous stuff.
Oh, okay, all right.
Not to mention.
So zoom in a little bit.
I'm going to see if I can zoom in. I'm not positive that I can.
Oh, okay. Well, it's all right. It's good enough at least for us to talk about. So we had our first planning session yesterday. With Marvelous Ed and Marvelous Ivan, and we are starting to talk about this marvelous thing we're going to do at the end of next year that we call the Greenwood. And Ed is going to help us author it and all kinds of stuff. But we also talked about a trouble with rats because, as you all know, we try to bring our community and give our community different people opportunity to be published and to publish things. Especially those who have been active and involved and show a penchant for writing. So Patrick is actually going to help Ed and me with the drafting of this marvelous A Trouble with Rats. So we are excited for that because that is coming with the Gyzaengaxx materials, and that's why you see little Patrick's picture right there. Right. But anyway, we are confirmed with this wonderful thing we're going to do with Ed. It is confirmed, and we have all the paperwork and all of that stuff together. And actually, Ms. Goo and I are going to go visit with Ed on towards the end of the month. So we're going to chronicle that little adventure and maybe do a little video when we're up there. And we will do Goo Morning Zyathé from there. And I am hoping that Ed will be able to join us. He has told us he can, but I don't know if he can. But we will see if we can have Ed here. I think it would be the 25th, Lawrence. Does that sound right? 25th? Somebody help me out with the date. It would be the Saturday after the 23rd, which is when we fly into Buffalo.
I say somebody help you out with the date
24th,
for your
25th,
flight
26th. 26th. It's Saturday, I believe the Saturday the 26th is something, we'll be doing that. So hopefully that will happen and you all can spend a little time with Ed Greenwood.
Absolutely.
Which would be wonderful. Doesn't that sound fun?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Very good.
All right, I think they got this next one here. This one's pretty good.
Oh yes, so Corey is moving to Atlanta. Not Atlanta, somewhere in Georgia, Alabama. Yes, Alabama, excuse me. Moving to Alabama. And, of course, leaving our table, which is depressing for all of us. And we are sad for that. And thank you again for these subscriptions. You all are marvelous.
Oh, yeah.
And so Devin and Corey and I were chatting, and Lawrence took a picture of us while we were there. And we are going to miss Corey, but he's going to come back about once every quarter. And Corey is another one who we're giving an opportunity with. He is doing the towns, the villages of Ethom and Blun, which are those supplements. So we've had some wonderful conversations about how we're going to put those together. You're going to love them. There are many wonderful nods and things to the past of this marvelous game that we play in honoring Gary. And Luke has provided a lot of input, and we're just really stoked to bring you these two supplements, along with, of course, the Tomb of Gyzaengaxx and the Gyzaengaxx environs. So that was a nice picture, and we're gonna miss Corey around here, not being quite as around as he used to be. So there it is. There's Harry's book golem. So Harry painted up his book golem, which we really like, and he keeps hinting to me that he needs it to be canon. I'm inclined to do that, except for this whole snail thing that went on for quite a long time. So Lawrence, don't you think that's marvelous? That little book golem right there, pretty cool. Yes.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, honestly, that's a great idea for we'll get into contributions and what are what are really special contributions and stuff like that.
Yes.
And that's something that is unique. I've never seen that before, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a cool sculpt too, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's really fun. Harry did a great job with that. And if you don't know about Harry, he's on My Mini Factory, and you can give him a little love. Be a patron. He doesn't do a whole lot of sculpting. You're not gonna get 4,000 sculpts for $20.95. I think he's very inexpensive, but he does really cool things in the world of Zyathé. So he's worth checking out if you want. Harry's Minis is the exact name.
Hey Harry, do me a favor, drop your link and I'll put it up on page for you. Another exciting thing about Harry's Minis, you don't even know this, but Riley almost has all of the Bushras printed.
Wow.
And he's making his way. We did test prints of everything. Everything looks good. The Fonz looks amazing.
Yes.
And he's just chugging away. So we're almost done with Bushra, and then he's going to move on to all the Lukes and all that kind of stuff. And then we're hopefully going to be getting your mini packages out for Gyzaengaxx, out with your guys' mid shipments, so that we can get all those painted before you guys start actually receiving the Tomb of Gyzaengaxx.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, no, we are. Gyzaengaxx is really coming together. I mean, we have a lot of work to do. Let's not minimize that. But we've engaged a number of our community people to support people who have never published with us before in a number of cases. So we're excited to give them those opportunities, and we're already down the road a little bit. We need to get down the road a little bit more, but we will. And so we're excited to bring Gyzaengaxx to you. Lawrence has seen the tale. I think the tale of the tomb is sounding pretty good. Yes, you.
It's coming along.
Yeah, we are excited.
I will also say the thing about the book golem is that is literally death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Don't do it again. It's terrible. Anyway, what else? So this is you boys. You can talk about this one, Lawrence. Go ahead.
All right, folks. So we have been totally revamping our shipping process. As you guys know, for any customer service stuff that you guys have had, you guys have been able to talk directly to Gooey Cube. He's been helping streamline a lot of our back end of our processes, which has really helped us in the downstairs. This last week, Gooey Cube broke a record. We shipped 1,064 pounds of product. What you don't see is that right before we took this picture, Devin actually took all of the FedEx and all the USPS orders over to our postal annex. So those bottom two shelves of that were completely full right before the UPS.
Lawrence, as I ponder this for a moment, that's like shipping you, me, Devin, right? Mm-hmm. With a little bit of Mel and Camera Mandy thrown in.
Yeah. If you don't count conventions, it's Gooey Cube's largest shipment ever. And it's 1/10 of what we took to Gen Con.
Yeah.
Where we, almost destroyed a trailer.
Yes.
So stuff is on the way. As always, if anything arrives damaged, if anything gets lost, we have had 2 casualties so far, unfortunately, due to the
one was the hurricane, right? It got left.
We're pretty sure both were the hurricane.
They both got literally left on the porch in a massive puddle.
The first one did. The second one, that UPS just said, "Hey, we lost it," and so we're just assuming that their facility got flooded or something.
Oh, right.
But yeah, if there are any issues, support@gooeycube.com. That gets you directly to Gooey Cube, and he's been doing great at being able to stay on top of stuff. He's also been answering at all hours of the night. He's actually going to be like the new Alphinius Goo as far as She's like, "Oh, you're awake at 2 a.m. Let's talk."
Well, the thing is, as you know, Lawrence, for me, the writing is difficult during the day when I have the day job, right? And without the day job, of course, there's no Gooey Cube. So we have to do the day job. I wish we didn't, but we do. And honestly, truly, I mean, I do. There's part of me that loves my day job.
Oh,
right? But the thing is that in the evenings, right, sitting in the backyard, a cup of coffee, a cigar, a little of the music playing, right, and out in my backyard with these trees all around is just it's my respite, right, it's my place. And I can sit there and I don't get calls and the emails slow down dramatically and working till, 11, 12 o'clock and just enjoying that. Sometimes the dog is out there with me. It is marvelous. It is my place. And so I'm extremely happy with the beginnings of the tomb of Gyzaengaxx. I think you all are going to love the tale. I might even do a little reading of that one section, if not today, but maybe next week, Lawrence. We want to do a little reading of that. I think people would enjoy that. So, and Geeky and Harry, I do want to tell you both this. I am very, very committed. Unless something happens that we can't get it done, I'm very committed to the Isle of Ulu next year and to the mud mounds of Bleak Bottom Bog. So these are going to happen. They need to happen. I've been wanting to have them both happen for a long time, and we need to get them done. So that. There's another thing that we're really talking about because the tomb of Gyzaengaxx and what's going on in the area and the environs and all of that stuff, and we'll talk about more of that in a minute, because of all that's happening there involving corrupted magics, the four lords of corruption, and all of that kind of stuff, we are seriously considering that we are going to bring forth the Cyclopedia Corruptica, which is the first tome about corruption magics, the lords of corruption, all of that kind of stuff. And I think people will like that. I'd love to hear a little bit of feedback on that. But having spells of corruption, magic items of corruption, more information about the lords of corruption, that would probably also delve a little bit into Oava'o and the returning and all of this stuff that is this wonderful lore of Zyathé. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it's pretty good. That's funny, Paul.
I just want to throw out there, when he said, "Oh, we're really considering doing the Encyclopedia of Corrupted Magics," that's as royal of a we as we can get. Alphinius is considering it and then telling the rest of us to figure it out.
Well, we'll figure it out. I think it needs to be part of the second Kickstarter we're doing with Luke, because Gyzaengaxx was obviously very, very successful. I know people are going to love this. I am absolutely convinced of it to the core of my being. The tale is already coming together. You've seen it. It feels really good, right, for the tomb. And then, of course, with all of the wonderful people, we're talking to some of them right now who will contribute to the environs. I just think it's going to be a spectacular campaign setting and a marvelous adventure. And so you will learn in the environs, in this Gyzaengaxx, of the Temple of Existential Evil. Yes. So we are bringing that forth. There might even be a little keep on the border somewhere. I heard there was some giants in the hills. So we are doing some funness in this regard. All right.
Just a quick to answer this question. We'll get back to you. We'll follow up with them and we'll see what's going to happen. Obviously, both of them are super busy. I haven't heard anything off the top of my head, but once we get an answer, we'll let you guys know.
Yeah. I don't believe Ed is coming to Genghis, but I think Luke and Andre and Donnie are at least talking about maybe.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't know that for sure, but I think so. I'm not certain, but I think so. Okay. Yeah, probably gotta have some slavers.
Probably.
Yeah. So yeah, Jen. So Jen, have you seen the cover, the limited edition cover of the Tomb of Gyzaengaxx? Has Jen put a little note up there? Can you grab that? I did post it, but it might be a pain for you to find it.
The limited edition cover for the Tomb of Gyzaengaxx?
Yes, I did post it in there somewhere. You just look up my posts.
Yeah,
just
no,
search
I got you.
Alphinius. Also, I've been posting, for those of you in the Gooey Den, I've been posting some of Camera Mendy's trailers from the past, because we have so many new people. And I, of course, haven't watched some of them in a while, but I've been watching them. And goodness gracious, she did such a wonderful job with these trailers. So if you haven't seen them and you see me post one up, take a moment. They're only a minute and a half long. and really, really so good. And I know Cameramedi would love to get some love when those were posted up about the quality of them.
One thing that'll be huge, folks, for all of our stuff, for either our social media channels or even just on our website, if you guys can post reviews and stuff like that, that really help us on out.
Yeah, that's true, friends. Yes, the reviews on the website, getting reviews of Dark and Haven, those kinds of things are there. And yes, Infernal, we have portrait packages on the website that you can apply for. For Gyzaengaxx itself, there was special packages for the Kickstarter that we did for people to actually be included in Gyzaengaxx. So only those people will actually be included in Gyzaengaxx. But we have many of our wonderful people going to be included in the Gloomport. And then as we move forward with some of the other things that we are doing, we will continue to bring more and more of our people. And don't be surprised if one of your NPCs just happens to show up in one of our adventures. We got a lot of fun things going on.
Got a lot of travelers.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, when you post that, did you post that under your alternate account when your account was locked?
Don't think so. I don't think so, but it's possible. But
I'm having a hard time finding it.
You're not finding it? Okay. Well, my apologies.
We'll post it up again on Facebook.
Yeah. And we have next week. We can look at it next week. So, but yes, the limited edition cover has that smiley face.
Oh, yeah. So 2 last things. One thing that the shipping department did, we have certain days which are just ship heavy days where I go through and I'm like, hey, listen, we're not doing anything else. The only thing that we're doing is getting out orders. And Mel had this idea to do this kind of like work with me type thing. She does a lot more Discord than like me or Alphinius do and stuff like that. So we went ahead and we set it up. And it was a lot of fun. We had a couple people drop in. We had a couple people ask questions about their orders. There's a couple people that are like, can you pack my order right now? And we're like, yeah, sure. So if you guys see us pop that off, feel free to come on in and say hi and whatnot. There are a couple of folks were just like, oh, this is like the small space that you guys are working in. We're like, yep. So
yeah, we are tight. I mean, when I tell you, that we really, we are 5 people in a phone booth. That is not untrue, but this is the way it has to get started, right? The only way that it really is going to be successful is for us to be careful with our money and you all give us money for our marvelous stuff, and we want to be responsible and considerate with those funds that you give us. And so that's a very important thing for us. We consider it's a true trust thing, and we put up there that we're going to deliver a bunch of stuff on a Kickstarter. We doggone well better deliver it. And for those of you who got Dark and Haven, I know it was late. My humblest apologies, but I know it was not what you expected. Yes, because the original box size was supposed to be one of our normal box sizes, and we changed that. Because we were late, but we changed it also because the product needed it. And I am so excited for people to have that city, because I do believe it's one of the finest fantasy cities that's ever been made. And wait till you see the Gloomport on top of it, right? So then we got the Gloomport. We've got the wonderful Dark and Haven, right, Lawrence? We've got the Mornwood thereafter, right? The Mornwood is right outside the city, right across the river, right? This marvelous locality for adventuring. And then someday in the future, we are going to do the Grimmenden location that is right down beneath the Gloomport, right along the Farthendeep Passage. Yes, magnificent.
Oh, precisely.
It's very exciting. What'd you say?
I said precisely.
Precisely, of course. Okay, what else you got there?
Last one, the old Search for a Rainy Wind song from Jacob. He's putting some work into it.
It's wonderful. I'm having so much fun with it. I am laughing. I am worried. If you haven't, and the problem is, here's the problem. This is that Facebook algorithm thing, and it ticks me off. Because people get served certain things based on who they've talked to in the past. But if they've never commented on Joe's things because Joe hasn't done things in the past, then Facebook doesn't show it to them. The other thing Facebook won't do is anything that they get a whiff of the possibility that they could try to charge us for advertising for, they throttle my posts. So you don't even get to see those. It's really, and it just bugs me, Lawrence, because we are the ones who are creating the content of interest that is actually making people engage with Facebook on our den. We're doing all that for them. They should do everything they can to support us, not suppress us. It is such an odd business model. And it's part of the reason why I think they've had defections. Part of the reason why Facebook is not as strong as it used to be. So, we'll see. I don't know it'd be interesting to see what the chat thinks about that, but that's kind of what I think. No, I'm loving this little Rainy Wind song thing.
I was going to say, do you need me to get you a ladder so you can hop off your soapbox?
Oh, sorry, I've been on the soapbox for a while. Yes, maybe on that. All right. So shall we do a little bit about the contributors next? Do you want to do that?
Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and just give a little peek? Oh, actually, I have one super exciting announcement.
Oh,
I brought something. So, do you know what this is? Ugh.
By the gods, man, what is that?
It's a paper tape dispenser that I found off of Facebook Marketplace for $100 last night. And normally they're $400.
Paper tape dispenser.
Because we're starting up a second packaging station so we can get your stuff out faster.
Yeah. Listen, Lawrence is very focused on the shipping now. This is a big deal because we have a lot to ship. And so these kinds of things are very exciting.
Hey, Alphinius.
Yeah.
I found a paper tape dispenser on Facebook Marketplace for $100 last night. Can I get it?
I thought you already got it.
I mean...
What is that right there?
I mean, just wondering if I can get it approved for purchase.
It's approved.
Yay! It was 9 o'clock. I didn't want to bother you.
The thing is, it really, all of these little technologies really do make it, and I agree with that, Andrew. It's better to ask forgiveness than permission. So,
it's much better to ask forgiveness live on stream with a bunch of audience members.
Well, I wouldn't be mad. $100, we can live with that, no problem. That, and really, well, $400 or $500 item, right?
Oh yeah. We basically made $300.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, made $300.
Yeah, gooey math. It's the same way you end up with the Darkenhaven. That's 11 pounds.
I know. It's all right. And the Gloomport's is going to be very, very similar. It's going to be very, very similar. So, all right. So, did you have one other thing you want to do, or do you want to show the slideshow for the?
Oh, so do me a favor and just talk a little bit while I get the tech part of the slideshow, so you can talk a little bit about Gyzaengaxx and stuff.
Perfect. So, so if the new people here, and there are quite a few, at least I think so. The new people here, we have been doing this almost since our inception. It's one of the cornerstones of our the foundations of Gooey Cube, which is to be truly a community-based and community-focused company. And that's not just having fun in the Facebook or on the Discord or whatever that is. This is actually having our wonderful people be a part of the world. And as many of you know, we do the portrait program where you can literally have your character based on your face and your description crafted in the world of Zyathé, and that wonderful character can then be a part of the tales as we go forward. And we have literally, I think, I used to say it all the time that we were at 400, but the cameraman, he would always tell me it was less than that. But we're somewhere in the 300s, the mid 300s, I think, to potentially higher than that now, of people who are who have their character portraits in the world of Zyathé. Some have even memorialized people they have lost, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. In any case, that is not the only thing that we do. So if you have opened up any of our lore books and seen them, if you have the Mornwood and have looked inside of that, and you look inside of these various books, you will see contributions from our community. And this is very important to us, and I tell you, it is very, very hard. It is much easier just to write the thing and let it go. But for us, this is extremely important. Go ahead, Lawrence. What are you giving me? Oh, you're ready. Okay, he's giving me the thumb up that he's ready. But for us here to have our community be able to contribute to our world, to bring this wonderful creativity that lives in this wonderful community is special. And it is making, for us, it is making our materials, for me at least, better than anything else that is out there, because it is not just created by 3 or 4 people and that's it. It is created by a wonderful community that's helping to grow and expand and enhance this wonderful world that we call Zyathé. So anyway, let's take a peek, Lawrence. You ready to rock and roll? Right, is it going to actually show up, or is it going to have to be cut and pasted?
It should actually show up.
Oh, I'm excited for this. Here we go.
Under this thing, set here. Let's go.
Here we go. Will it go? Wow, excellent job, Lawrence. Very, very good. So let's talk a little bit about the environs of Gyzaengaxx, okay? That's what we're going to do today. and I'm going to just give you an introduction, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about the Contributors Guild. All right, so the environs of Gyzaengaxx are really an area, and we'll show it on the map, an area that is in in Vanzentia. Okay, so let's go to the next one. This is the gray. By the way, go back for just a second, right? So go back. I'm sorry, Lawrence, I should have done that to you. So this, for everyone's edification, this is the inn and tavern, the main tavern in the village of Ethel, and it is called the Grey Hawk Inn. And there's a whole story behind it about a wyvern that was coming to attack the town, but people did not know this. They thought it was a huge hawk that was flying in at first. And then it came into the town and it caused some mayhem, but it ended up being slain by a number of folks, including those who worked and were a part of the Grey Hawk Inn, which was not named the Grey Hawk Inn at that time. So then they took the wyvern and they stuffed it, and it now hangs over the main fireplace in the common room, and they changed the name to the Grey Hawk Inn. So this is a wonderful little bit of lore, and of course it nods to our wonderful Gary, and we are excited to have you experience the Grey Hawk Inn. I got to think that. Hope you all think that's cool. I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, so let's go to the next one, Lawrence. Thank you. All right, let's talk about the Contributors Guild. So for those of you who know, I apologize for being a little redundant here, but it's very important. Lawrence, you should put this in the chat. It's gooeycube.com/guild. gooeycube.com/guild. All right, so this is very, very important. If you are going to participate in the Contributors Guild, you must go there and you must fill out the form, and you must sign. There is a single-page document that you have to sign. Now, the reason why this is because we can't have contributions that don't have Gooey Cube's control. And I apologize for that. I wish it was different. I wish there was, and actually we have an idea for something we want to do, but that's coming in the future. But we have to own it, so we're going to not just ask you to contribute it, we're also going to give you something special, all right? So the contributors who are selected to be published in the book, and we may not be able to take them all because I'm very worried that we're going to get hundreds. You will get a signed image from Luke and I that you can frame, and I think it's going to be pretty special because it's probably going to be the ghost of Geralt. I don't know that yet. Luke and I are going to talk about it.
Should you do like a Star Wars thing of all three of you guys as ghosts?
Oh yeah, all three of us as ghosts.
Yeah.
Ooh. So yes, there's not the soul claim thing that is in there, even though Dr. Ransom Keys is saying so. If you have already signed it up, you are fine. All right. The document carries forward and all of that stuff. Now, the second thing about that important area is that is also how you make your submissions. All right, so there is a form there that will be going up soon. It is not finalized yet, so don't start yet. Today is the beginning, okay? There will be a form up there that explains exactly what we are doing. And what we are doing is a location in the environs of Gyzaengaxx. Okay, and it limits the number of how much prose you can put in. Yes, it's really this is not something that we want you to spend hours and hours and hours on. All right, we want you to spend a little time, give it a little bit of your creativity and your love, right? And let's make it special, right? Something that you would love to have there. Okay, and we'll talk more about how that's going to work in a minute, and get a nice reward for not a huge amount of work. Okay, that's the goal. All right, the goal is not to have you write 12 pages and all of this stuff and create monster stats and all of these things. That is not what we are doing. This is all about giving you a chance to have a little place of your own in the environs of Gyzaengaxx. Okay? All right. So, yes, you should. Pull out all your 40-year-old D&D stuff, look at inspirations, look at the old Dragon magazines, and this is very important, don't steal anything. You can adjust. You can use a different an anagram or perhaps a name that nods perhaps to something of the old days. But we are not taking anything from anyone directly. That is not right. It is not the right thing to do, and so it's very, very important. So yeah, I'm going to talk. Cassius, great question. I'm going to talk about this in just a minute. Okay, but I don't want to get done with how the Contributors Guild works. Okay, so first, are there any questions from the chat right now on how the Contributors Guild works? And no teleporting shops, Sir Geeky. The joke is this, for all of you who are wondering why I said that. So when we did our first round of submissions, it was actually for Darkenhaven. And interestingly enough, of all the submissions that we received, there was, I want to say, over 100. I think there were over 100 or 100 and something. But like 13 of them were some kind of teleporting shop. And I kind of would push back on that, and I said, no, we're not going to have shops teleporting all over the place. So we went to those folks. They readjusted their submissions, and we took, I think, most of them. But Zyathé, for those of you who are new, is a relatively lower magic world. It's not crazy magic with things going off all over the place and all of that stuff. There is definitely magic, and it is involved. And there could be a teleporting shop once in a great, great while. But I certainly don't want them all over the place, because one of the things that I said is that when everything is spectacular, nothing is. Right? So you want the unexpected to remain the unexpected and not have it be expected all the time, because that is what creates the aura of mystery, intrigue, and wonder. Right? So that's very important when you're yourself thinking about writing things and all of that stuff. So anyway, that's how that came to be. All right?
I do agree with Harry and Andy. It's not a low magic setting in the traditional sense.
In the traditional sense, that's fair. I think that is fair. Magic is definitely involved in society at a host of levels, but sort of this willy-nilly stuff, I don't know how to explain it, where just there's odd things happening all over the place all the time, is not happening. And part of the reason for that is because of the great mistrust of magic in the world. All right, which dates back to the woe of ruin, the destruction of the high magics, the corruption of magic, all of those things. And of course, then there's the manifestation of the blood touch, which came later. Some connect it to the woe of ruin, some believe it is a corruption thing. And certainly if you are a blood-touched person and you're traveling about outside of the major cosmopolitan cities, you can face some prejudice and some lack of consideration from individuals. Because they are afraid that you have this corruption thing. And it's not true. Well, it might not be true. I mean, it could be true.
Oh, yeah.
But it's probably not true.
Something that I would definitely recommend, just as far as just seeing a lot of the different chat and stuff like that, and some of the questions about, like, as far as the uniqueness or like different, like we had seen one about having like a floating shop. What I recommend as a little bit of a challenge is think of something that's like an essential service to a city or to environs, and something that's kind of boring, and then figure out how to make it interesting. For those of you who had Darkenhaven, there's actually a postal office over in Fishertown in Darkenhaven, and I just thought it'd be a cool idea to go through and be like, you know what, there's probably some kind of postal thing, so I called it the parcel office and stuff. And what I did is I wrote in there a nice little GM hook that there's possibly some Vanzentian spies that are working for the post office, and they're using that as their cover to bring in stuff into Darkenhaven, apologize and stuff. And that GM hook is going to be far more useful to a GM who's going over and reading your location and such than necessarily, hey, here's the most unique shop that you had ever seen. Being able to build that into the descriptions, that way once they read it, they immediately know, oh, okay, this is how I want my players to interact with, again, this lumber yard, this paper mill, there's all kinds of just different kind of boring things to make them special.
Correct.
That is one of the ways that 100% your shop or your locality is going to have a higher chance of getting approved than the 100 taverns that we get sent in, the 100 the 100 magic item shops that come on in. We get tons of those. What we don't get is things that are boring that you guys end up making magical and unique.
Yes, that is a great word of advice. Let's go to the next slide, Lawrence.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the location. And can you zoom in this one, Lawrence, a little bit?
I will try.
Let's see if we can zoom.
Where do you want me to zoom into?
I want to zoom right to the middle where it says Gyzaengaxx. Actually, stay out for a second before you start zooming. So the environs of Gyzaengaxx are in a location in the state, the sovereignty state, okay, of Vanzentia, okay, which is overseen by the Queen in Zilitar City, okay. So Vanzentia is broken up, and it has smaller states, smaller sovereign states with sovereign's the wrong term, fealty states. That are underneath the Queen's purview, all right? So in this case, if you look right there in the center, you see Vanzentia, and then you see down to the side there, you see it says the Glúvoig fiefdom. So we are indeed in the Glúvoig fiefdom. So, and the Glühvoig fiefdom, we don't need to get too much into it, but if you see the Twilight Run, the road that runs along there, that's sort of the border. And then the Mithril Mountains on the right-hand side are the other border, all right? So this is where the Glühvoig fiefdom is. The capital of the Glühvoig fiefdom is the Glühvoig stronghold, which is way down there in the south. All right? And the Glühvoig fiefdom stronghold is very interesting because it is the top. Oh, that's wonderful, Lawrence. Very good. So it is the top of the above ground area of what used to be sort of a combined dwarven hold that had an upper location and the under location. But there was sort of a disagreement that caused some consternation, that caused some fighting, that caused basically it to split. So now underneath the ground is a fairly major dwarven underdelving called Mithrindan. And above ground is the Glühvoig fiefdom. Mithringdon does not, though allied with Vanzentia, the Mithringdon is not a fiefdom, but the above ground area, which is the Glühvoig stronghold, right, is the capital of the Glühvoig fiefdom, and also swears fealty to the queen. Okay, so we got that. All right, so let's take that off for a second, Lawrence, and now let's look up to more to the north, and you see the Hasendravel. Do you see Hasendravel right there? Hasendravel is another underdelving with a surface presence, which is primarily dominated by gnomes. Okay, now again, in the world of Zyathé, you're not going to go to any city, pretty much anywhere, and find only one group of people. That's very unusual, all right? So if you go to an underdelven city of deeping elves, dark elves, for example, yes, there are going to be a lot of dark elves there because it's dominated by dark elves, just as Darkenhaven is fairly dominated by humans, okay? But you are going to find lots of other folks. In the case of the dark elven city, you very well might find deeping dwarves, you very well might find deeping gnomes, high gnomes, you might find even Zavidians and even some above ground folks. Okay, so our goal is to really create these cosmopolitan things. I'm sorry, I'm getting off track a little bit, but Hasendravel is
never. What? This guy's laser focused at all times. It's definitely not trying to add on more adventures and stuff to a list that we already got.
So what I love about so I'll really go off track. What I love about the Mithril Mountains is some of those mountains are named for people who people loved. And so this is another contribution that we did in the past. Thank you, Harry. I appreciate the vote of confidence. So Hasendravel is to the north. All right. So now if we go to the middle of that, right there, between those two, right along the edge of the Mithril Mountains, Lawrence, you will see, and make it a little bigger. Just go ahead and make that a little larger so we can show the area around there. There you go. Just do that. That's perfect. All right. So this area we call Gyzaengaxx, and you see the barrows. This is Barrowsdale is a portion of this. And it is some 30 to 40 miles from that town that you see that's called Stridenshore. It's about 60, 70 miles or so, maybe a little more, from the Glühvoig stronghold, and about the same from Hasendravel, all right? And it really is in what we would call more the wildlands, all right? The village of Ethholm makes most of its money on keeping of agriculture. They herd Quendoof and all of that stuff. And the village of Blun, which as you will learn about these more, is really a mining community. Okay? And they are really, in the Barrowsdale region, this area, they are really two of the largest of the settlements. So very, very, when you're thinking about this area, you want to think wildlands. Okay? There's not a whole lot of towns, there's not a whole lot of those kinds of things. So this is really about, if people are walking around through wildlands, what are they going to find? They're going to find ruins. They might find an interesting way house, right? But as Lawrence said, we get an awful lot of inns and taverns. So it's kind of nice to depart from that. There might be a strange grove with an interesting group of druids. There could be a strange sinkhole, right? Or an entrance to a small cavernous area, right? This is very important. As we are thinking about contributions, we do not want you to impact big lore, okay? So do not have some contribution that has some cave where the god Radion has been entrapped. That's not happening. If you go that direction, we won't be able to take it. So we need you to give the game master a wonderful location that they can take, that their players could arrive to and have fun.
The other big thing is that if you go with like the Druid Grove path,
We've had a few of those too.
well, if you go that path though, make sure that your contribution is about the location of the Druid Grove and isn't then 15 paragraphs
Yes.
on the Druid Circle and everything
Yes.
like that. It is a locality. It needs to focus on the location, and then you got to let the DM go through and really kind of flesh out how big or small and stuff like that.
Correct. That's great. Great advice. And again, you only have, I think, almost a maximum of about 500 words all in. So we're going to talk about the structure of that. But anyway, so you can see Gyzaengaxx right there. Now, the interesting thing about Gyzaengaxx, and the reason why it doesn't have a tower on there and all of that kind of stuff, is because Gyzaengaxx is actually a dungeon that is underneath there that has been around for a long, long time that had a different name prior to the coming of Gyzaengaxx. And so people began to call it the Dungeon of Gyzaengaxx. All of this stuff happens, but that's why Gyzaengaxx actually appears as a dungeon and not as a tower. All right? Yes, absolutely, Andy, that is a great question. And within the environs, there right now we have planned 2 maps. One, they may not. Is it 3 maps?
There's 3 maps planned.
Well, I'm talking about the areas he's talking about.
Yeah, 3 maps planned.
Is it 3?
Yeah.
Help me to remember.
Help you to remember. So you have. So first of all, we're doing a close up of Blund and Ethholm map, and that's going to be a little bit more detailed.
There'll be 2 maps.
Yeah, it's going to be very similar to. It's going to be similar to Mornwood.
The Mornwood. And those were the
then
2
you have
maps
the
I was.
area map,
Yes,
yeah.
agreed. But I was speaking of those 2, so I apologize. I misunderstood what you were saying. Yes. So think in this man, there's going to be 2 area maps that will be similar to the Mornwood. So Lawrence is correct in that there will be 3, but I was speaking of these 2. All right. So one, because Ethholm and Blund are further apart than the scale of the Mornwood style map would have, those are going to be disconnected maps. Okay. And so because of that, we're going to do a more pulled out map of the Barrowsdale region, which will be the 3rd map. So that is the goal of that. And Cassius, you are absolutely right to ask that question. And this old man is sitting here racking his flippin' brain because he can't remember the damn name of it, even though it was just written a few days ago. But that dungeon. So the interesting thing about Gyzaengaxx, and I'm going to do this reading next week, so we'll talk more about it when we do that. But the interesting thing about Gyzaengaxx is this little village of Ethholm is present in the area. You know what? Let's go to the next one. This is good because we can start dancing down this dance a little bit. So this environs is a marvelous locality for adventure. Okay, and it is wildlands. So I want to make sure you're keeping that in your mind. As I mentioned earlier, ruins, strange caves, interesting groves, weird areas where there's a blight. There's so many interesting things you can do. So if people are traveling around the environs, okay, these locations exist. Now, what you're going to find when you see this is some of these areas will be marked on our maps, okay? But many of them will not be. And the reason why that is because I am of the mind always with my adventures that if I want places that my players can encounter, and I'm not going to predefine where those are unless there is a reason for predefining them. So a grove could be over here, a ruin could be over here, but the ruin could be over here and the grove could be over there. It doesn't really matter to me, right? I just want to, in telling of the tale, I may want the players to encounter a certain area, and so those areas are, what would you say, not defined in terms of where they're going to be, right? Because I'm going to place them as the players going forward. And so that will be a lot of what you will find in the Gyzaengaxx environs materials as well, is that your locations may not be actually put on the map with a dot. All right, that makes sense?
So I guess one question that I would have if I was a contributor getting ready to write, what kind of climate are we looking like in this area?
So when you think about Verdestia generally, okay, Verdestia is like a mashup of Europe, east to west, north to south. Okay, so the further north that you go with Verdestia, as you get up to the Magdranog, where the Arachnoids are on West Verdestia, up to the barbarian lands and East Verdestia, you get more colder, all of that kind of stuff. As you move southward, right, you get more like the I don't know, Finland and Norway and those kinds of things, right? Northern Russia, right? And you continue, then you move further down to that. You begin to get a little more temperate. So you now start talking about Germany and all that stuff. In West Verdesta, you get down to Anvala, and you're really talking about more Southern European inspired, right? And there's that is the same as you move down all the way south to Valandia and all of that kind of stuff that's going on in East Verdestia. So this is more central. So I think if you're thinking about climate and all of that stuff, you kind of want to think Germany. Mm-hmm. You want maybe a little bit of northern Spain, northern France. That kind of climatology.
Probably very green.
Yeah, yes,
very
absolutely.
Green summer times. You're gonna get some wet, or you're gonna get some snow in the winter time, stuff like that.
Yes, exactly.
And then what about like as far as I know you're saying wildland stuff like that? Are we thinking same thing for like I think the word geology would be for as far as just like obviously Colorado here we're used to mountains and we're used to high desert and stuff.
Well, when you're looking at the map, right, and you pop back to it real quick, just so everyone can see. So when you're looking at the map, when you're seeing this, you can see that there are a number of forested areas. This is the foothills. Mm-hmm. Make no mistake, right? Make no mistake. That is why there's mining there and all of that kind of stuff. But the foothills are green enough that they also support the keeping of Quendoof, right? The ranching and all of that kind of stuff. Now, interestingly, there's other things that are coming into this. You can see Mithring Pinnacle, which is associated with Mithringdon. You see the Mythendale. There's a very wonderful and scary thing going on in the Mythendale. And then the barrows out there, they're called the barrows just because of the hills, right? But there are some barrows in the barrows, okay? But it's not like this is a little nod to our marvelous J.R.R. Tolkien, right? This is a little nod to that, but it's not like exactly like what is going on in the books, right? But they just called it the barrows because there's all these interesting hills that are kind of lumpy hills, so they feel a little bit like barrows, even though they're larger, right? And Gyzaengaxx actually built, and I want to see who gets this, actually built his tower on one of these hills closer to the mountains, which is more forested, and it is called Abalon Hill, Abalon Hill. So I hope that makes some of you laugh. I want to see if you got to be old. You got to be old. So it gives a lot of room. Andy got it. So yes, exactly, Avalon Hill. So for those of you who do not know, Luke and I, we were talking about the history of his father and all that stuff, and this is fairly commonly known. Avalon Hill in the 1970s made all, and even the 80s, I think I can't remember. They ended up they didn't really pivot enough. And so I think they went out of business or someone bought them. I don't know if someone's got some information about that. I'd love to see it in the chat. Anyway, they made these wonderful tabletop war games with all of these little chits that you would punch out, and they would be your squads or your companies, or in the case of this magnificent World War II simulation, they were literally armies, right? And you'd have and you played out these games, and they could take hours and hours. Well, from what I understand from Luke, his dad, and the whole group of the guys who were playing at that time, this was big for them. And they'd have all these different war games, and Avalon Hill was one of the games that they played. So we wanted to give a little love to that marvelous game company, and so that is why Avalon Hill is where.
I'm pretty sure I won one of those over at Pacificon.
Oh yeah, you might.
I'll have to show it.
They're still around. I have kept my boxes of Avalon Hill games for a long, long time.
Yeah, our good friend Armando the Bard invited us out to Pacificon, so we went out there about a month ago or so, and me and Iad won a couple things on accident.
On accident, me too. So anyway, so that's where that Gyzaengaxx is constructed. All right,
so definitely like foothills, Alps kind of thing.
Not super Alpy.
Yeah,
more southern Alpy, right?
Yeah.
The more north you go, right, as you move up more towards Donvin, now you're getting more Finland, Norway feel, that kind of stuff. Like I said, this is
almost
a little
like Italy kind of deal, like almost.
No, not that south. So that's what I'm saying. So think this is northern
I'm
Germany.
thinking northern Italy.
Oh yeah, northern Italy, Germany,
Yeah.
northern France, Spain. Again, we're mashing it all
Austria,
up. Austria a
yeah.
little bit, yes, all that kind of
Cool.
stuff. All right. It's not, but I get that, Nightfire. I get that. Oh, Gamma World. Gamma World was a classic, right? Long, long ago. It was a very, very interesting place. So, all right. And Titan was great. I've seen some things from my youth that are magnificent. All right.
Flashbacks over here.
Let's
All
go,
right,
let's
next
go.
slide.
So the goal, my friends, is interesting locations. And Lawrence has already overhung this a little bit because he's right. We want interesting and unexpected, right? So as you're pondering your locations, don't go necessarily for the most obvious of tropes, right? Go for ones that are maybe more a little different. Let's go to isn't this marvelous? You're gonna find out about this place in Gyzaengaxx.
Kind of like if I can imagine if you're rolling up a character, you ever have a player come over and they were like, I'm going to roll up Batman for my character. And you're like,
Yeah.
well, you're level 1 and then Batman's like a lone guy. So I really can't. It's like the best players are the ones that roll up kind of like a schmuck and then
Yes.
build it up from there. That's the same. Our favorite contributions are always, hey, they took something that was boring and they made it interesting. From there.
Yeah. So one of my favorite characters, of course, is Flavius Milo, who my friend Dirk played for many years when we were kids. And Flavius Milo had a 4 constitution. There was all kinds of problems because of Flavius Milo, but he's one of the most memorable characters for me because of that circumstance, right? He had a wonderful flaw. All right, let's talk about making a marvelous location. By the way, yes, the damn snail is in this image. This is actually the inspiration. This is where the damn snail came from in the first place, all right, was this image. All right, so there you go, making a marvelous location. And I just love this image. I think this is just wonderful. Benjo did this one for us. All right, keep going. All right. Nope, go back. There you go. Marvelous, mysterious, majestic, fun, or fearsome. Excellent use of alliteration. Did you see that?
You are definitely a master. that and your ability to make up songs on the fly never ceases to amaze me.
Well, anyway, so this is what you want to put in your mind, right? Because again, I want to tell you something else. A location doesn't necessarily even have to have something there that the player characters are going to have to fight with, right?
Oh, no.
A lot of people think that. It could just be an overlook.
The majority
That looks across the whole valley, right? And then maybe you see something that is interesting, like a dragon flying across the sky, or something like that. But you describe it well enough that it's a wonderful thing for players to see. Right? So this is what we want you to ponder as you ponder this. And again, this is all about giving the game master plenty of room to move. So we're not trying to be super defined. We're not trying to say this is the monster, they're going to come out and fight you, blah 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 blah, right? But maybe you say, there's a little cave here, and inside this cave is an ogre, right? And the ogre is named Shraak. And he has a donkey who's a little friend. And he's actually a really nice guy. He just doesn't like people to come and visit his cave.
I feel like the donkey doesn't shut up.
And the donkey is really talkative and
Donkey!
All right. And honestly, we're a little lampoony, right? So I'm not afraid of some of those kinds of things. Just don't be too close. Because if you're too close, now we start treading on an area of going past lampoon and really starting to just take people's stuff.
Do you have a good definition of lampoon?
Lampoon is tongue-in-cheek. So Avalon Hill is a lampoon, right? Because everyone knows that that's kind of cool, right? So there was in the old days, Gary made a thing called Castle Zagig, Zaygig, which is Gyzaengaxx reversed with a Z. So we have a place called XA''AGYG, right? Which nods to Gary's name, right? But it's not the same. It is a different thing. So in fact, that might be the name that we gave that I can't remember.
Big real life examples: Monty Python, Weird Al Yankovic. Those are great examples as far as what's the difference between a lampoon and copyright infringement.
Right, and we don't want to. I mean, we really, not only is it not a good idea legally, right, but it's just not right.
Oh yeah.
That's the key to it, right? You don't take other people's stuff. It's not right.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So, marvelous, mysterious, majestic, fun, or fearsome. Put that in your mind. That's what we want. What's next? I almost called you Camera Mandy. With an interesting personage, or multiple interesting personages. Now, this is, again, what we want you to understand. This is a few lines about an interesting personage. We're not defining it and making it all pull out, right? There is an interesting character. in this grove. Her name is Jillian, and she is a ghost. And Jillian has an interesting backstory of something terrible that happened in this grove. And when you come to the grove, and I'm making all this up just as we're looking at this image, this image actually exists in the Mournwood, I believe, and it's very, very cool and what's going on with this image, but I'm just making this up for you. So when characters come to the grove, they may find a number of little dolls hanging from branches as a sign of Jillian's presence. That's enough.
So
that's all you need.
One of the biggest things I want you guys to do is, if you guys go back and rewatch this, I want you to focus on the feeling that you got as he described that. That's essentially what you want to inspire a GM with. That, hey, this is enough to inspire them, get them a feeling, and allow them to keep running their game.
Yes,
if
run
you put
it how they
too
want.
much in there, then they get analysis paralysis, and then they're like, wait, what's that ghost's name? What was her mom's name? Why was it supposed to be?
Yes.
It should be enough for a feeling, and then let the GM take it from there.
Yes, and even to the point where you could say how Jillian became a ghost, but even that should be very high level and let the game master run. Lawrence's advice is absolutely correct.
I'd even do less than that. I'd let the players figure it out. I'd let the GM and the players figure it out.
Well, a lot of times, Lawrence, I've done this before, this technique, right? And this is a technique for game masters, is the answer you might not have to find it yet. The answer might be the best answer that your players come up with because you love it. I have changed my answers literally in the game because my players came up with such a wonderful idea, right? This is a very important thing about flexibility in game mastering. Very important because it really adds to the tale. All right, what we got next here. Thank you, Lawrence. Magnificent monsters. Again, we're not trying to stat them out. We're not trying to give all of that information. But you could say, what is not known about Jillian's Grove is that living therein is a zombie. His name is Harold. And Harold loves Jillian. And Harold is actually a nice guy. That's all. We don't have to go any further than
I feel like
that.
it's a monster. I feel like it's an NPC.
Well, it's an NPC, whatever. You know what I'm saying. But this is the idea, right? I'm trying to just to underscore what you have been saying because it's very true, right? Give them enough that they can dance with it and then let them dance. Don't try to dance the dance for them.
And keep an eye on, obviously, with the OGL.
Yes.
So there are some monsters. So like Beholders are one that's going to be an
Displacer beasts, Displacer beasts. Yes, do not. We won't be able to accept your contribution if you use those kinds of things. Now, remember, in the world of Zyathé, beholders are called Oculix, the analogous monster, right? It's not they're not the same monster by any stretch of the imagination. And I actually think they have way better background and backstory lore than the beholders. But
shocked.
Well, it's just my opinion, right? And of course, we have the Thu'ul, who are way better than mind flayers.
And biggest thing is that if you're stuck up, if you have a particular monster in mind and you're like, wait, does Zyathé have an equivalent to this? Best place for that's going to be in the Discord.
Yes.
Tons of people who are highly active in there that'll go through and are happy to help you on out, as well as our writers are there too. For the little time that they do have, because normally they're chained to their desks.
Harry caught my Displacer beat comment. Displacer beat is actually there's a certain drum solo that's called the Displacer beat. Yes.
That'd actually be a legit, like, it'd be
A Displacer beat.
well, it could be a legit bardic spell or something like that. It'd be interesting. Makes you feel easy or
Displacer.
something.
Yeah, right.
Or it moves all the people around or something like that.
Yeah.
I definitely thought that they were like angry beats. And
Popping
so
out-
I
popping
just
out
say
like-
race for fan art, go. I actually like both of those options.
DJ Displacer beats.
Gosh.
All right, what's next, Lawrence? Let's do
New
it.
favorite bard.
So odd happenings. This is another thing that people forget about, right? It doesn't have to always be a combat, right? It could be a weird message that appears and disappears that's scrawled on the side of a tree, and perhaps it drips blood, right? Or you could walk into a place and there is a stone that changes color depending on what is going on with the moon luneos, and at certain times of the year, it actually opens up and reveals a secret location underneath. Again, don't describe the whole location, just talk about it a little bit. See? So this is the idea about how odd happenings can add flavor to a location.
Even basic things, like if you think of like Old Faithful and like geysers and stuff like that,
Yes.
like just regular natural occurrences and stuff for fun things to happen and whatnot.
Yes. Because again, as you're traveling about, every time something interesting happens shouldn't necessarily be a combat, right? Especially if you're trying to make
most
the
of the
world.
time it shouldn't.
It shouldn't. Yep. If you're trying to make the world feel alive, right? This is the cool things that happen to us when we're traveling about. And as long as you don't put too many of them in, it won't bore your players. They'll love it.
Crop circles, those weird stones that travel in the desert for no apparent reason.
Yeah, for no reason. Yeah, wasn't the Easter Island statues that they used to say moved about? I don't know about that, but
I'm not sure about that one, but.
So we are going to be doing some meetups on Discord. All right. This will be a place where you'll be able to ask questions, throw out ideas, and all of that stuff. It'll probably be Lawrence and me, and we're going to be sending out some emails about that. This will happen after the next
Goo Morning, Zyathé?
Yeah, Goo Morning, Zyathé. Thank you. The next Goo Morning, Zyathé, because we're going to go a little deeper on what we've talked about here next week and talk a little bit more and answer some questions, because I have a feeling people are going to come with some questions based on today's thing. Mm-hmm. So please do ponder this a little bit, and we can't wait for you to be a part of this Gyzaengaxx thing. All right, what's next, Lawrence? I think we're almost done.
I think that's it.
Yep, I think we're done.
More to come?
Oh, yeah, more to come next week. So, more to come, and by the way, marvelous, right? Kishore did this dragon for us, right?
Awesome.
I just love him, right? Or her, not sure. Or they, not sure. Anyway, my friends, thank you for being a part of this. Can't tell you how excited we are. I want you to know this if you're a new person. And are you talking about this? This is, Cassius, good question. These are always recorded. The Discord meetups will absolutely be recorded. And we will post them so people can access them later. So yes, absolutely. Try to make it easier on folks as much as we can. So let me take a moment now, and let's just open it up to any kind of questions.
Sure.
All
so
right?
I think I have a few saved in here. So right here, so we already answered this. If you've already gone through and signed your contract, you're good. It carries on over. Yes. I'm going to throw this out there. Okay. Now we want to make stuff as easy for you guys as possible, but since we're going to get a flood of them in, if you wanted to sign another one for us, so that way we just pull up the Gyzaengaxx folder and we have it, might make it a little bit easier on us.
Especially if you did it a long, long time ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially if you did. Right?
Not required, but just a thought, folks.
I did absolutely get it, Marcus, and Marcus is talking about the sticky six.
Oh, that's right. So this is actually kind of fun. So I have it set up differently. So you're seeing the live chat right now, and then I actually have the starred stuff over here.
Got it.
That I'm pulling up that I've recorded as we've kind of moved through and stuff.
So Cassius, great question. No, could absolutely be a building. It could absolutely be a ruin. Just in your mind, right, you're thinking about it out in the wildlands. So it has to really sort of, again, one of the things that I really underscore, and for those of you who want to be writers, right, for those of you who want to publish, and I've done this my whole career. My writing has been in advertising, but I have done a lot of writing, a lot, okay? And I've done a lot of fiction writing, and someday I'm going to do a novel. If I live that long, we'll see what happens. But that question is an excellent question, and what I want you to always remember, if you've been watching a movie sometime and suddenly you go, that doesn't make any sense. Or, what? Hold on. They did this over there. That shouldn't, blah, blah, blah. Or, that person is being really stupid. Okay? These happen to you, and this is what's called the destruction of the suspension of disbelief. Right? And this is very important in the crafting of writing. Okay? Because you are asking your reader to live in the place that you are crafting. And you're asking them to believe it, because that is the only way that they immerse themselves in a work of art, or, a work of writing, or a movie, or a show, or whatever, is the suspension of disbelief. Assuming that it's not a comedy and then it doesn't matter, right? You don't care, right? So in this circumstance, you're asking people to suspend their disbelief. And if you put in things that are goofy and dumb and don't make sense, you ruin the suspension of disbelief. So if you're out there in the wildlands and all of a sudden this magic castle that's like a fairy tale castle that has, Cinderella running out the doors, right? You kind of whacked on the suspension of disbelief a little bit. I'm not saying that couldn't work, but I'm saying that you'd have to really think about it to have it make fantastical sense, which helps to keep the suspension of disbelief in place.
So I think the question, so we kind of use the terms like locations or localities.
Yes.
And for those, generally, we do say like, hey, if it's going to be a building as far as like, oh yeah, it's a trade post.
A trading post.
That's a building. That's absolutely what we call a location or a locality. That absolutely counts underneath the umbrella for submissions.
Yes. It could be just a hut that's been built out there for the
be a workman's
ranchers,
hut.
where the ranchers stay when they're out there ranching. So there's a few of those out there, right? I mean, if you start thinking about it, and you start thinking about Wilderlands, and you start thinking about what interesting places, right? And you have plenty of room to move.
I wouldn't even say, don't even look for interesting places. Look for what, like, kind of infrastructure, the wildlands, even though you kind of think of it as being infrastructure-less, but infrastructure that you would need in order to kind of run this stuff and
That's
whatnot.
correct.
And then make that interesting.
Yes.
I do have a question for you. So we talked a lot about the environs of Gyzaengaxx
Yes.
and being the contributors for that. What about contributions for Village of Blund, Village of Ethholm?
So we're not going to do that.
Okay.
They're not large enough to accommodate enough of those, and they're just too small.
Yep.
And so we're not going to really do that. There may be a couple of people who have offered some things up, who have published for us in the past, shown themselves to be really a part of the community, that have a couple of ideas that we may take those and put those in there. But it just, when you have, I don't know, a maximum of 25 locations
Yeah,
or 30
absolutely.
locations, if we ask for contributions for that, we're just not going to be able to publish too many people, right? We're going to have to tell people we can't do it.
Honestly, you know what I'm thinking about would be a dope location. Basically, Dances with Wolves, that whole outpost that the entire story takes place out
And
of.
he's a hermit.
Yeah.
Right? And a hermit out in the wilderness who has some secret, right, is very interesting, right? Now, don't give us 10 hermits.
True.
We could probably take 2.
So what do you think about this one?
Okay, please provide a list of areas that are suitable for contributions and a no-go list that you aren't accepting submissions for. Randy, that's a good question. Generally, pretty much everything is everything is available within the environs. We just don't want you to try to do big lore. So if you tried to say, I want to take the Barrows, you and I had this discussion, I want to write about the whole Barrows area, that's too big of lore for these kinds of contributions, because it affects all the other things that are going on within the Barrows. So we need to keep sort of the oversight of that, and you need to write, if you want to write about something, maybe there is a Barrow, a specific Barrow, that the players might come into contact with that actually does have a white therein.
If we were going to
Right.
draw a box around it, would it look something kind of like this?
Yes, maybe yes. I think that's probably maybe not even quite so far to the east. To the west, and might include a little more of Mythendel. But that's in the general range, right? So again, when you're pondering it, right, the locations we want is a fishing hole that is very popular with the ranchers that go out there, because there's this interesting little creek that for some reason dumps a crap load of fish every year into this big old fishing hole, and they go there and fish. But the real reason that all the fish there might have something to do with something that is down in the bottom that is maybe more nefarious. Or maybe it's not, right? So this is the idea.
Oh yeah, for sure. Next one I got from Gooey Geeky Hoodie. Mandy needs to make her mouse bigger on here.
Dude, I love the larger mouse. Can we get a point of the submitted location like there was for Darkenhaven and Gloom?
So he actually specified this. It wasn't a point. I think it was a print.
Oh, a print. Well, pretty much we don't have it done. So we're not going to be able to do that. And in fact, honestly, in some measure, we're going to create the maps based on your contributed locations. So it's kind of going the other way. So really, Geeky, if you're looking on the screen right now, or anyone else looking on the screen right now, and you ponder the area of Mythendel, which is a very fairy place, but there's some bad things going on there. In fact, the Feyari of the Mythendel are being oppressed by a certain power. Again, you don't need to know that, because that is not so critical to putting an interesting little tree in the Mythendel that has a Feyari hermit, so jumping back to the hermit, a Feyari hermit living there, right? So this is the idea that we want you to try to dance with, if you will, right? So we've got this thing down the south, a little bit south, which will probably be included in it, called the Bourst. That again is something we would rather that you not write about, because that's on the map, and so it's got some, pretty much everything you see on our map has a purpose, right? I hope this is helping. So Geeky, that's what we would. We got scammers in there.
We do. I'm working on it. I'm trying to make sure I don't promote them to moderators.
Yeah,
So
we
you
don't want them promoted to moderators.
And-
Giving the administrative privileges.
Yep, answer this while I go ahead and try and get this guy set it up.
Yeah, I this is beyond my comprehension. This is just so bothersome. I apologize to all of you for this goofiness. So Harry has a question here while Lawrence is dealing with our spammer. The shuffle land, where the landscape and woods are meshed in magic, and really causes locales to appear in different areas. Oh. So yeah, that probably would be a little bigger than we want it to be. But it is an interesting thing that. That was from Ransom Keys. I'm confused right now. Where did that come from originally, Lawrence? I'm a little lost.
This one, Harry 3D.
Thank you for reporting them, by the way, my friends. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, I might have missed this one, or I might have missed the original text chain of this one. I saw there was a question mark, and I went ahead and started.
Oh, okay, got it.
So might be my bad.
So
I do have another one here for you.
are there any corruption that is no? So this, my friends, this is the great question, and this is absolutely yes. So Gyzaengaxx. So as with our more recent materials with the Mornwood and all of that kind of stuff that we were doing, and some of the things that are going on with Terror and Genzicon and all that, began to bring the Thule to play. Okay, Gyzaengaxx is going to be our first real dig into corruption and the Four Lords, because spoiler alert: the Temple of Existential Evil has 4 temples inside of it, very nodding again to the most magnificent adventure that was created before. But these 4 temples are dedicated to the Four Lords, and the entirety of the Gyzaengaxx tales is around a number of things that involve corruptive magics, Crooksic sorcery, the Crooksic priesthood, and it's really going to be not just lampoony and funny. It's also going to be scary and amazing. And so there is corruptive magics in the area. Indeed, the Eternic, there was an Eternic cult out here that existed before the Woe. I'll read about this next week, actually. So if you come next week, I'll actually read about this, taking it out of the Tomb of Gyzaengaxx, which Luke has blessed, really likes it, I really like it, and the team is enjoying it. So we'll read about that next week. But a great question.
And I'm going to have a whole bunch of sound effects to go along with his reading.
Marvelous. I hope they're good.
Oh no, they're just going to be like foghorns.
Annoying.
And just, air raid.
All right, we got to go, right? We have gone way over.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you everybody for joining us here at Goo Morning Zyathé. Next week we will definitely be better as we continue learning what Camera Mandy's job is.
She does a lot, as we know.
She absolutely does a lot. Tons of orders heading on out. Again, if you guys have any issues with your orders, if it's damaged, if it's lost, if you think that you're missing something, any of that, go ahead and hit us up at support@gooeycube.com, or hit us up on Discord, or hit us up on Facebook. We'll get all those funneled, and we're getting them resolved as fast as humanly possible. We'll keep you updated with stuff at the Facebook for the Contributors Guild, as that's all coming on out. Let's see here. Is there any other really cool update? Oh, actually, do you want to BAMF for 5 seconds while I go grab something else to go?
Oh, yeah, you should do that. So
right.
so sorry for all of you. We're not quite leaving yet. Lawrence has one last thing. You don't want to show it next week?
No, I'll show it this week.
All right, here you go. This will be really fast. This is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
So hang in there. He's actually running, which I hope he doesn't die of a heart attack doing so. Actually, he's in great shape, so that wouldn't happen. But anyway, so my friends, listen, I do want to thank you all so much. This is special for us, this contribution thing. Gyzaengaxx is very special for us, and we are going to be very... Oh, yes, thank you. Thank God it wasn't weighted. Yes, the Gooey Cube blankets, the Sherpa blankets, with the Gyzaengaxx,
This is the limited edition Tomb of Gyzaengaxx blanket.
I'm not going to open it all the way up because you won't be able to see, but there's the beginnings. Magnificent and really comfy, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Those are starting to go out this week.
So fuzzy, Lawrence, and soft. I like it.
Those are going out this week. Shirts are going out this week. And then we have game mats coming in, all going out this week. And other than that, we did get another box yesterday, too, which is pretty cool.
Wait till you hear about the rat.
Oh, yes.
Can't wait to. It was good. Yes, Lawrence, it was good.
Terrific.
Yeah, Corey loved it too. So I'm thinking we got a good tale coming. My friends, much love. May all your adventures be sticky.
Take care, folks.
Have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you next Saturday. Bye-bye now.
Wait for it. Find the mouse. There it is.
Find the mouse.
our vendor out.